Hello, welcome to the Lone Show. I'm your host, John May Lone, and in this episode, I brought on a spirit goose who will join us eventually. If not, who knows? But as for our guest, he's from New York, currently living in Florida. He's an author, filmmaker, actor, and show host. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ronald Farnham.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. This is exciting. I'm hoping to give your guests an interesting interview so we can talk about some cool stuff.
Nice. So, how's life?
Wow, life has been interesting. I'm here in Florida right now, and I just went to a couple of movie premieres for the documentary, the number seven streaming documentary on Amazon Prime. It's called Movie Money Confidential, being produced, it was produced by Scott DuPont, and now he is going to be my producer on my new movie that I'm about to do called, and this is the first time I'm saying this, the title for the movie in the public forum. So interesting because I didn't know that that was going to be the case here in this interview. But the name of the movie, it's an action feature, is called The Cocoa Beach Kids. And Scott DuPont is my consulting producer on this project. And so I'm really excited about that.
Okay, nice. So, what got you into filmmaking?
Oh man, that's a really interesting question. It was actually happenstance. I started out as an actor and I had been playing in bands as a drummer and a singer and had been doing plays in school, and as I got and I also was a um piano player. I was always taking lessons in either sports or musical instruments, and at a certain point, as an actor, someone asked me to produce their music video because I had started casting. And so I was like, oh, I can produce this for you. I can get people together and we can film this music video for the hip hop artist Adore for his song and music video Step Up. And so I did that. And then it just, word got around and one thing led to another, led to another. And I started directing and producing motion pictures. And I originally started out as an actor and I still act, but it just kind of happened.
Okay, that's cool. So, in terms of your author work, what books have you written recently?
Well, the most recent book that I just published less than 12 months ago, while I was in a survival camp, actually, I had my third wife and I, Tracy, we moved to a survival group because we thought the world was going to end around 2020, 2021. And we went to Arkansas, and there I had figured out what the solution was to end war and poverty across Earth. And I wrote this book called The Solution, an instruction manual for sovereignty and freedom. And I published that while I was in Arkansas in the survival camp because things were getting crazy, especially when the pandemic broke out. So that's my most recent book, The Solution, which teaches you how to secure the credit of your birth certificate bond and to register your name as your property on the record so that no so-called authority can use your name without your permission or paying you a fee on their paperwork.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people are having their name used. Most people are having their name used without their written permission. They're just, the police are just like, yeah, we're going to use your name on our paperwork and charge you money for allegedly doing a traffic infraction when most people aren't even drivers. So the book is really also about honor and how to stay in honor with the police by conditionally accepting their offers for your fee schedule. So if somebody's like, hey, you were speeding. Oh, well, I'm not a driver. Well, we need your name anyway for this citation. Oh, well, you can have my name for $1,000 cash up front. And then you just wait for them to give you the money or walk away. So it's really a lot of negotiating tactics and how to secure yourself and your name as your property so no one can infringe on your freedom or, territory or property.
Okay, okay, cool. So, what do you like about being a filmmaker?
Well, I was raised kind of playing team sports, and I was also in the military for about 8 years. And I love the creative process of creating a whole story and just story creation in itself with a beginning, middle, and ending, that whole screenplay process. And then I love getting a whole group of people together and getting them paid to do their art on camera, where we all have this script, this like baby that we have together, and we're gonna make it into this motion picture, and people are gonna watch it and be moved by it. So that whole process is just really fun to me because I've always, been a team person, and filmmaking as a director or producer is really a team sport with all your crew and your cast. And when you get your talent on set and you have a good communication system, like I'm an actor first, honestly, and I really communicate well as a director to actors to get them not only feeling comfortable on camera and within the crew and when we're filming, but to also know that they have pretty easy choices to make as actors to kind of satisfy what we need for the story so that they can really portray the character, taking it off the page and letting the viewer see it. So I just love all of the parts of the whole movie making process.
Okay, great. Now, as as you worked as an actor, what what productions or yeah, what kind of productions have you been in?
Well, I started out doing commercials in Florida. I was the spokesperson for Louisiana iced tea in the Southeast United States, and then I was also a spokesperson for a couple of law firms like Jacobs and Goodman in Florida. And I started doing paid theater, and I loved stage work. So my acting coach, I had a couple of acting coaches, Patrick Cherry, Corinne Brosquette of the Actors Studio in St. Petersburg, Florida, and Ken Grant. He's a major Hollywood based acting coach. I got I started getting a lot of theater roles, and when you're doing acting, you have to kind of choose between the two different worlds. Am I going to do theater or am I going to do motion pictures to include commercials, sitcoms, TV shows, theater, motion pictures like movies? And I had to choose. I love theater. I love performing on stage, but for about 2 years straight, I was doing paid theater in Florida. I was getting, paid every night to perform two act shows, like live plays, like comedies, dramas, musical. And my favorite theater role was playing R.P. McMurphy in Cuckoo's Nest, playing that Jack Nicholson role. And then at a certain point, I just decided I needed to move to Los Angeles, and so I worked on in Los Angeles from like 2011 to 2016 or so, working as a screen in the Screen Actors Guild as a extra or even small roles in independent projects, actor out there on a lot of Hollywood sets for 5 years, 6 years straight doing that. And then I left LA kind of because of the whole pandemic. And they started, wanting everybody to be vaccinated to be on set. So I left and decided to go independent motion picture producer here in Florida and across the. That's kind of where I've kind of wound up right now.
Okay, great. And during your time in LA, what was that like?
Oh man, I love LA. I consider Los Angeles one, probably my second home. Florida, New York, Los Angeles, Denver, Virginia, and Maryland, all those places, even Georgia. I've lived in those places like the most, and I love Los Angeles. And living in Los Angeles for me when I first got there was two different worlds. I was working on becoming a major actor and producer and writer, and also, surviving by working as a waiter and a bartender and working the whole Hollywood, Beverly Hills scene, serving drinks and food to celebrities. And then maybe the next day working with them on set. It was so weird. I was working on the show Bones one time with David Boreanaz. And then like 2 weeks later for Thanksgiving, I got booked to be his personal server at his house for Thanksgiving, me and one other actor. And it was funny because I told David, I was like, "It's so funny, man. I just worked with you on set on Bones like 2 weeks ago, and now I'm serving you dinner at your house." We were just talking about it, and it was interesting. I remember working on set with Kiefer Sutherland in the show Touch, that he had for a little while. I think they shot a pilot and one season, and that guy, Kiefer Sutherland, was such an amazing like personality to be on set. His voice, I don't know if many people have ever been around him in person, but if you watch his movies, he almost speaks in a whisper, very low, but his voice is so penetrating. And I swear, on set, when he was speaking in a regular voice, his voice was so strong and powerful. We were shooting out on location, and it just resonated through the whole block, this whole area. It was weird. It was like almost like he was like had a godly presence. I've never been around that kind of a voice, and I've just had all kinds of cool experiences. I remember being on a Johnny Depp set with Jeff Goldblum was there, and we were all hanging out waiting for the director to finish setting up the shot, and Jeff Goldblum was hanging out waiting for the cameras to roll, but he had a microphone in his hand because it was a Johnny Depp movie where he gives this a speech. So he was just goofing around. And he's like, "Hey, anybody got any requests?" You know, he wanted to sing because around Hollywood, Jeff Goldblum performs on the piano and sings in like piano bars around LA. So I was like, "Yeah, do Summer Wind," and he's like, "Oh, you with the Summer Wind." So he starts singing Summer Wind, and then finally the director was like, "Please, somebody take away the microphone from Jeff Goldblum," and so they came and took the microphone away. So I was on Rizzoli and Isles, I was on Raising Hope, just a whole bunch of shows, Parks and Rec. I was on America's Got Talent, throwing plungers one time, believe it or not.
Oh, okay. Tell us more about that.
Ah, I thought that might spark some interest. Well, I was writing the screenplay for my movie Hollywood and Vine. I was living out in North Hollywood, and I just took a break. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I looked up talent, um, request job gigs on Craigslist in Hollywood. And I was just looking up and I saw this one casting for like if you could do like a dozen different things. And one of them was throw plungers. And I played college baseball and I thought, huh, I could do that. So I just made a video. I didn't even know who I was auditioning for, but I made a video that night at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I grabbed a plunger out of the toilet in my apartment in North Hollywood off Magnolia Boulevard, just right down the street from Laurel Canyon Boulevard. And and I was rooming with Scott DuPont at the time, who's actually now producing my movie. So I set up a table on top of another table as a target, and I set up a camera in my living room. And I was like, "Hey, I'm auditioning for the thing where you can throw plungers. Check this out." And I turned around and I threw plungers, and I made it stick to the table from like 20 feet away. So they messaged me back like a couple days later and like, "Hey, we want you to be on Guinness World Records Gone Wild to try and break the record to throw plungers in a minute against human targets with no shirts on and hit their backs." And I was like, all right, I'll do that. Why not? Let's have some fun. I'm in Hollywood. Anything goes." So I did that. And I go back on America's Got Talent and do that again.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, in fact,
Now,
Heidi Klum was one of the guest hosts on the. She was one of the judges, and then about 3 weeks or a month later, I saw Heidi Klum on Parks and Rec, and I was standing around going, "Oh my gosh, Heidi Klum's the guest." I was just there as an extra, and I go, "Oh look, Heidi Klum's the guest." She was one of the judges while I was on there. I was just telling one of the other extras, and they were like, "Oh, cool." And then I guess one of their production peoples heard me say that, and then I was sitting at a table like about a half hour later, waiting for them to turn the cameras around so we could shoot another angle on the scene for Parks and Rec. And suddenly, someone taps me on the shoulder, and I look up, and Heidi Klum is like bent over, looking down at me, going, "Do I know you? Have we worked on a commercial together?" And I was like, "Oh." No, I go, "You were the judge on America's Got Talent when I threw plungers." And she goes, "That's right." And we sat and we talked for a couple of minutes. And I was like, "All right, well, that was fun." She's like, "How did you get on the show?" And I go, they saw what I did on Guinness and they emailed me." And she was like, "Oh, interesting." She was really sweet, sweet, nice lady and beautiful. Just one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen up close in person.
oh yes, he sure is.
Yeah, just gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
In fact, if I was going to get married again or have another mate in life, like, where it's going to be a long-term thing, I don't know if I'd sign the government paperwork and get married, but I would totally love to marry Heidi Klum. and have a long-term relationship with her. I'm just putting that out there. She might be a little bit tall for me, but that's okay. I will wear like high heel boots and leather pants and a white cotton button-down shirt if she likes that.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool. Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
Oh, well, that's actually, I'm so glad you asked that because I have specific goals. I've heard this, you've probably heard this phrase before that failing to plan is like planning to fail. And right now, I have a goal to make 100 motion pictures that get distributed, 100 profitable feature-length motion pictures and documentaries, and then publish 100 books. And I have a goal to live 860 years, which I think I figured out how to do that by fasting and veganism. I think we can all live about 1,000 years if we eat like about a tenth of what they tell us we should eat. Instead of eating 3 meals a day, I eat like one meal every 3 days and I just consume electrolyte water. So in 20 years, I should be on probably my 10th to 15th motion picture and have probably about 30 books published because I could publish 2 books a year. I've already got books out and like 3 motion pictures. So in 20 years, I should have about 20, 15 motion pictures out, maybe 20 books out, and be living all over the world in different locations. I want to build my own pyramids. I want to have a for a home building company that builds pyramids so that they last. Because all these houses that we live in are just these boxes that are just meant to decay and erode. And I want to have my houses be left standing throughout time. And especially if I'm going to live 860 years, I want them to last that long.
Okay, cool, cool. Is there any projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, I'm working on 3 different projects right now. Currently, I'm editing my next motion picture that I just finished shooting called Horror Scope, which is about these kids who want to be world famous YouTube sensation musicians like Justin Bieber. So they decide to sell their souls to Lucifer in a seance through the spirit of Aleister Crowley. And I don't want to give away the ending, but it does turn tragic. And then I just finished writing the screenplay and doing the budget for the Cocoa Beach Kids, which is being produced by Scott DuPont of Movie Money Confidential, which is the streaming video on Amazon Prime right now. And it includes the very last interview by world famous Burt Reynolds, and it stars Selma Hayek. So if you haven't seen it, check it out on Amazon Prime. It's called Movie Money Confidential, and Scott DuPont is the producer of it. And he's producing my movie, The Cocoa Beach Kids. So we're in the process of raising our budget for that right now, which has got worldwide distribution lined up, and it's going to be under $1 million. But we're going to have some Academy Award winners in it. I mean, we got a whole thing lined up for that. And then I'm also about to go on a national book tour. My publicist, Rebecca Mahan, is setting up a national tour to show Hollywood and Vine, my movie that's streaming on Amazon Prime. And we'll do some book signings with The Solution and my other book, How to Write a Screenplay in 30 Days or Less. And so I'm just constantly busy. I'm either editing or writing or performing or doing my show or doing interviews or, talking to people. So I'm busy. It's going to be going on for another 860 years. So you're probably going to have to interview me multiple times over my life so that, you can keep up with what's going on.
Okay, I'll certainly keep enough of that.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself to be an extrovert or an introvert?
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. I am an extrovert when it comes to performing, like on stage, on camera, directing, producing. I even umpire baseball. And very much an extrovert when it comes to the public spotlight where I have to perform. But when it comes to like socializing sometimes, as far as like, I don't know, going on a date with a girl or going and meeting people in like kind of like a certain type of party environment. I'm kind of introverted. It takes a lot for me to kind of want to get to know people. In the entertainment business and in the sports world and acting, all those people are coming together because we all are kind of the same type of individual. And it's really a working environment for me. like performing for me is kind of like a work environment. So I'm showing up to do a job. But in social life, it's different, it's just weird. So I'm really extroverted in my job and I'm kind of introverted in like my personal social life. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I understand what you're going on about. It's yeah, I'm actually like that as well. Usually I'm doing when I do rehearsals for through productions in the past, I'm more outgoing, but outside of that, I'm just like, I just want space for myself and whatever. But yeah, I agree with you, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
it's funny. The entertainment business, like acting, like even doing this interview, it takes a certain amount of energy. And when we perform, you're on camera, you're on microphone, whatever your energy's high. It's this rush. It's just the way the performance life is. And then when you're not performing and you're just regular, like being yourself, I don't know. I'm just kind of like chill. I'm not into talkative or loud or being extroverted. Most of my energy is spent in the creative arts. And when it comes to like socializing, I might seem boring or single-minded and focused because when I do have conversations with my friends and family, or loved ones, I mostly talk about what projects I have going on. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm like, oh yeah, look, I just finished writing that screenplay. Scott checked it out and it's been approved. Now we're working on the budget. Oh, I just finished the budget, and I might work on my budget for like 3 days and not talk to anybody. Because I got to make sure all the categories are filled out properly, all the numbers work, and then if I'm gonna, when I'm gonna get it financed, then after I finish the budget, I got to do the business plan. And so I might spend 2 weeks just working on the business plan, and maybe, go outside just a little bit to go get some fresh air and not talk to anybody because it takes this single-minded focus. Or I might decide to go, you know, film an interview. And so now I'll go film it, set it up the interview, record it, and then now I got to edit it, and I got to fine tune the editing, and then I got to output it, and then I got to upload it, and then I got to distribute it. And so that might take me 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So time kind of for me is like rapidly passing by while I'm working on projects and staying single-minded and focused on what I'm doing without really spending a lot of extra time out there socializing. There's two kinds of people, I think. There's creators and there's consumers. And I'm like 80% creator and I spent a lot of my time doing that and it sacrifices a lot of my social time, but I feel like I have this goal of leaving my mark on humanity for what that's worth. And so I'm decided to pursue that and live as long as possible to do it.
Okay, great. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
It's you and I were talking before we started recording, and I really feel, and I've never been there, I'm just totally intrigued with and pulled toward Ireland. And there's something about Ireland. That's where I want to live. I want to live there for a while, and I want to just experience Ireland and maybe Scotland too. So there's something pulling me there. So that's where I want to go. Ireland and Scotland.
Oh yeah, yeah, those such great places to be honest.
Yeah, I hear it's beautiful. I was raised, I'm not really that religious now. I mean, I believe something created whatever we're living in, whether it's a spinning sphere or a terrarium or a simulation. Something put the mathematics for this whole thing together. And we have this very finite space, and I kind of want to explore the whole world, but there's something about Ireland and the green pureness of it that I feel like is there. And I think it's got a lot of secrets about the, origins of mankind and what we're really living in. And I think the people are there that can answer those things. So I want to kind of go live there and find out about it.
Yeah, absolutely. If your mind was an island, what would it look like?
If my mind was an island, what would it look like? Is that the question? If my
Yeah?
mind was an island, huh? Uh, it would look like me sitting on sand under a single palm tree with a whole bunch of paper and ideas written down in notebooks all around. And around the periphery would be kind of green foliage. And then, oh, all of a sudden there'd be like tiki bars everywhere with girls in coconut bras and bikinis and straw dresses. And then some of my friends and family, but mostly that's what it would be, tiki bars, me able to write, and then with a bunch of exotic island women in coconut bras and green skirts, grass.
Great.
Just bring one bottle of tequila. Yeah, everyone's invited, actually.
Oh yes, absolutely. Do you like spicy food?
I love spicy. Was Thai. She was Thailand, and she used to make me she used to make me massaman curry, and sometimes she would say, "Honey, you want hot America hot or Thai hot?" And I tried a couple times, and boy, I never just American hot, and so there's a difference. And I love spicy Thai curry types of foods. Yeah, I really do.
Oh yes. Yeah, I'm like that too. I do love spicy food every once in a while. And the thing is, I actually crave for spicy food. It's like an addiction, but in a good way. Because I
Yeah,
don't.
like a nice toasted burrito dipped in hot sauce, like all cheesy and that's good. It's
Oh
hot
yes.
and it's tasty. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so good.
In fact, I was thinking about doing I was talking about this with my a buddy of mine the other day. I want to do a documentary on Palm Bay Road, just the whole series called The Streets of the United States or The Roads of the United States. And the first one I would do would be Palm Bay Road, which I live right on. And Palm Bay Road has a definite beginning and an ending. It's not just this like infinite street. It starts on US 1 in Palm Bay, right on the river side, on the edge of the river. And it goes all the way up Palm Bay Road west to the end where it kind of winds up at in the woods, but it's the heart of this town called Palm Bay, and it's got everything on it. It's got a strip club, bars, restaurants, a movie theater, pizza place, vape shops, dispensaries, grocery stores. I mean, you name it. A hot dog stand, a Thai restaurant, just all set two 7-Elevens, a Cumberland Farms, just everything. It's got to be the most amazing, best street in the world, and I live right off of it, Palm Bay Road.
Cool, cool. Where was the most relaxing place you've been to?
Um, I would say the most relaxing place I've ever been to is Mount Shasta. I went there at the time, and I decided to just take a break because we figured we'd pick it up on the way back to get the rest of our stuff. And we drove. We left the valley of LA. It was like I think it was like August of 2017, and we left the valley in LA. It was 111 degrees. We were in flip flops and shorts and a t-shirt, and we drove like 15 hours north to Mount Shasta, north of Sacramento. And when we got to the campsite, 9,000 feet above sea level on Mount Shasta, it was snowing in our camp, and we were in flip flops and shorts. We had to put up our tent, and I wound up having to sleep that night in our van with the heater on because it was just too cold. And so and we had our dog with us too. And but aside from that, it was just so peaceful and relaxing. We took our magical place, Mount Shasta, and hiked to the top of it, and we just met some amazing people and just relaxed in nature and looked at the stars at night. It's crystal clear. It was just probably my favorite place that I would go and just relax at.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I should go there sometime.
Oh, really? We stayed at the Bunny what was it? The Bunny Pavilion or whatever, 9,000 feet up. I don't know if you ever stayed that part of it. And then we did you go to the Bear Diner? We ever go to the
Oh,
Bear Diner when you were there?
no?
Oh, Mount Shasta, they have the Bear Diner. Kind of, it's like the only diner in Mount Shasta, and they have one little movie theater. I like Mount Shasta. I would live there, honestly, for maybe a couple of years.
Okay, great. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you here, Ronald, talking about your works as a filmmaker, an actor, your books, and everything else. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the chance to speak out and talk about some stuff.
Anytime. And until next time, stay tuned for more.